Alrighty, everyone, welcome back to another live stream here on the channel. Hopefully everyone is having a fantastic Sunday so far. Just welcome everybody. There's a lot of people in the chat, so I'm not going to be able to welcome everyone. Just overall welcome everybody to another live stream here on the channel. If you're not chatting, glad to have you in here as well. And hopefully everyone is having a great Sunday. And let me go ahead and switch it back to our main scene. Let's go over to, let's see, hold on. I want to double check everything's correct. Yep, we're good to go. We are good to go. So this is, I didn't check the threat level, but it is a slight risk in the US today. Yeah, this has been downgraded back to Category 3 status at the 2 p.m. update, as you can see under my face cam, under my time there on that red bar at the bottom. It's been downgraded to a 125 mile per hour extreme high-end Category 3 hurricane, just a couple hundred miles northwest of Puerto Rico. We've had quite a lot of changes in the NHC here overnight. The main thing being that this is weakened to a Category 3, and another thing being that it's no longer forecasted to re-intensify to Cat 5. It's been downgraded to peak intensity again at 145 miles per hour. Another thing that has changed quite a bit is the watches and warnings. They've issued tropical storm warnings out there for the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos. Remember yesterday, right when we were ending, the Turks and Caicos were put under a tropical storm watch. They've since expanded the watches to the northwest, and they actually turned all of those watches into a warning on the newest advisory. So we're under tropical storm warnings on the extreme southeast islands of the Bahamas, as well as in the Turks and Caicos, and we are not yet under tropical storm watches in Bermuda or North Carolina. However, if you did watch the National Hurricane Center's briefing on YouTube, the director at the National Hurricane Center, he did mention, he said tropical storm watches may be needed for North Carolina as early as tomorrow. So we could see tropical storm watches issued along the Outer Banks tomorrow for North Carolina. He didn't mention tropical storm watches for Bermuda, but it just depends where this goes. If this goes a little bit east, Bermuda gets those watches. If it goes a bit west, NC gets those watches. If it doesn't go any west or east, and it takes this exact course where the NHC is forecasting, maybe, just maybe, we can avoid tropical storm force wind speeds on both the eastern coastline of NC and Bermuda. That would be really a really good scenario there. So let me go over here real quick and see what chat's up to. Mods, what's happening here? Let's see the mods. What's going on? Lucky, why are you starting fights over here? Oh, it's because Lucky was spamming and going full caps. That's why. So it's actually Ben and Lucky over here fighting in the chat, literally 5 minutes in the stream, and I'm having to check the mods to see if I gotta unmod somebody. Lucky was being mean to me. Doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me. That's just Lucky. Behave, Lucky. Behave. Come on now. I know it's pretty difficult. Go play your NASCAR game like you told me you were gonna do. But yeah, let's go look at the pinpoint forecast from the NHC here. Go over to the cone. So right now it is still a Category 3 hurricane with winds at 125. Actually, before I continue with that, I do want to quickly go check Recon. Recon took off from, I think it was either like, I'm just going to look instead of trying to guess here. Actually can't see him. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to go on here and check for it. All right, there's upper air Recon. And there is our main Recon. They took off from Mississippi. Yikes. So they're probably, I'm guessing they're probably not going to do a pass into this thing yet. They may go and refuel towards the Virgin Islands, or they're going to go in this one thing and then go refuel. But I don't know exactly what they're going to do. They're probably going to have to go refuel before they get into this storm. But either way, we are likely seeing this thing get very close to Category 4 intensity. It is borderline Category 4. So like I said in the stream the other day, you're not going to feel the difference between 5 miles per hour, 125 mile an hour winds and 130 mile an hour winds. If you're in that hurricane, you're not going to feel the difference between those 5 miles per hour. But in terms of the Saffir-Simpson scale, of course, 5 miles an hour is the difference between Cat 3 and Cat 4. So this is just a couple miles per hour shy of a Category 4 hurricane. And it is expected to be a Category 4 hurricane as early as tonight, if not into the overnight hours, where it will likely intensify to quite a bit. It should intensify all the way up until about a 140, maybe a 145 mile per hour Cat 4, 140, 145 mile per hour Cat 4 should be the maximum sustained winds of this thing, either sometime very early tomorrow morning or closer to the 8 a.m., 11 a.m. advisory going into tomorrow morning as well. But either way, it is expected to strengthen. Again, 125 right now, 130 late tonight, 145 tomorrow morning, and then it does weaken back to 140 tomorrow night, and then eventually to 130 as we go into the morning following. And then, of course, it is gradual weakening, high in Cat 3, mid-tier Cat 3, and then after that, weakens quite a bit, 10 mile per hour difference there. So it goes from Cat 3 all the way to Cat 2 there, but that is over the time frame of a full 24-hour cycle there. So it's going to be still pretty gradual, So again, Cat 3, and then midday on this day, it's going to still be Cat 3, and then overnight, it's going to turn to Cat 2. So by the time it's parallel to Wilmington NC, the Outer Banks of NC, it should be either a very low-end Category 3 hurricane or a upper-tier Category 2 hurricane. And then by the time it gets north of Bermuda, that's when it's going to start being a mid-tier to low-end Cat 2. And then after it gets well out to sea, it's going to likely turn into a Category 1 hurricane as it goes hopefully southeastern Nova Scotia, most likely southeastern Nova Scotia. We will have to see if it takes a sharp turn close to Newfoundland. Some models suggested that, but most likely our low pressure, since our low pressure's moved, our trough has trended further to the east. Most likely that trough is going to help pull it further away from Newfoundland and Atlantic Canada and the northeastern U.S. So that's good news. It looks like no direct impacts to land will be possible with this system. The outer bands are going to bring some tropical storm force wind speeds to the Turks and Caicos. We are definitely going to have to watch the Turks and Caicos because, the eye is going to be right in here going into very early tomorrow morning. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some sustained tropical storm force winds in the Turks and Caicos, maybe even some hurricane force wind gusts in that area as we go throughout late tonight into early tomorrow morning. Currently, we'll take off all this extra stuff here. Currently, this is what our Category 3 hurricane's looking like. You can see it is starting to get that convection back in towards or rather around the center. Around the center, we are starting to see that convection, those hot towers re-intensify. It never got its full complete eye yesterday, despite really, really trying to complete the eye. It never completely finished and cleared that eye of all clouds and really got a poke out on satellite imagery. It did complete the eye on radar, and it was a closed eye that was reported by recon and from radar imagery, but it never fully got up towards where we could see it on satellite imagery. Don't know. I think we should see that. I think we should see a fully cleared eye probably very late tonight or very early tomorrow morning. But there is no longer an inner eye wall. Our last recon reported that the outer eye wall / second eye wall has become the primary eye wall. So the first eye wall that led to a category 5 yesterday has completely dissipated. It's completely gone. It's done. And this is now one eye wall that remains. So our main eye is completed. The wind maximum, so the maximum sustained winds, are located with this new eye, not where the other eye was located. So it has completed that eye wall replacement cycle. We're just waiting to see if enough convection can get blowing around the system and really circulating around the system to help push that eye through all levels. There is some northerly wind shear that it has encountered. It has encountered 10 to 15 knot northerly wind shear over the last 6 hours, and that is likely helping to decrease and maintain that lower major hurricane status, keeping it at a high tier Cat 3. So that wind shear will ease off overnight after about 11 o'clock Eastern time. That wind shear is going to go to 10 knots. And then by the time we get to about maybe 2 to 5 a.m. Eastern a.m. time tomorrow morning Eastern time, that's going to be like 5 knots. So it's going to go from 15 knots where it is now to 10 knots very late tonight, and then to 5 knots into the overnight hours. And then tomorrow it's going to maintain about 5 knots. And then eventually that wind shear is going to pick up quite quickly. We'll start to have some dry air issues. The system's going to pick up speed. And once it gets hit by that trough, when it gets hit by the trough, which is going to be somewhere up here, trough's going to be located up here. That's where your centralized low pressure will be. But the entire trough is going to be like this big, right? So once Erin starts getting parallel of Virginia, just north of Bermuda, that trough's going to pick it up, and it's going to go from, maybe the 15 to 20 miles per hour that it's moving to the northwest right now. And it may be like as fast as 25 miles per hour. It's going to be zooming out of here very, very quickly, and it will turn extratropical extremely, extremely fast as it gets closer to hopefully southeast of Newfoundland. So not that bad looking of a hurricane here. The main thing you'll notice if you tuned into yesterday's live stream is the size of this storm is a little bit larger today. Now, it's not really considerably larger, but it is a good solid 50 or so miles larger from the southwest to the northeast. Once this gets close to parallel of Bermuda and North Carolina, this system is going to have a wind field that is going to stretch maybe as much as like 400 miles out from the center, or like 250 to 400 miles for tropical storm force wind speeds as it goes north of Bermuda. But those hurricane force wind speeds are going to be very, very, very small and eventually just completely dissipate. So the wind field of this thing is going to get absolutely giant. Like, let me turn on the center here. So it's going to be about this, most likely about this large, right? About that large a tropical storm force wind speed. So if it shifts a bit west, that's going to go towards the Outer Banks of NC, a bit east Bermuda. So from west to east, that thing's going to have a wind field just length from west to east of about maybe 500 miles or so, in a radius of about 250. Very, very large tropical storm force wind speeds. And that's going to really grow about here. Once this thing gets to a very low in Cat 3, upper tier Cat 2, that wind field is going to expand very, very rapidly. Most likely on the northwest quadrant is where those winds will be the furthest and the closest to land. Tornado warning up in Canada. I got the notification at the top right. I saw it. So it's going to grow. It's going to keep growing over the next couple of hours. It's going to slowly get larger with a wind field. The hurricane force wind speeds will get a bit stronger. And then eventually it's going to continue that slow growing in size trend, but the winds are going to get a bit weaker. And then a parallel again of Bermuda, parallel of North Carolina, the wind speeds are going to start decreasing quickly, and the size of the system is going to start increasing very, very, very rapidly. It will rapidly, rapidly increase Wednesday night going into all day Thursday. So that's everything when it comes down to the cone and the wind field and what the system's actively doing. Again, pretty good looking system right now. Not too many big struggles. Like I said, definitely interfering with some 15 knot wind shear, definitely hurting the intensification process of the system. Maybe helping to get that eye wall to struggle a bit more than what it should be. It's taken almost a full 24 hours. We have not seen a clear eye in about 24 hours from this hurricane. And that is pretty crazy. That is pretty crazy. So remember yesterday I was talking about how fast that eye wall replacement cycle occurs is going to be very dependent on, or rather, my bad, I worded this wrong. The intensity of this storm is going to depend on how fast that eye wall replacement cycle can finish. We were talking yesterday, if it's 2 hours, this could have a chance to be Cat 5 again today. But if it's longer than about 3 hours, then it's going to be struggling more. This thing went from 160 mile per hour winds all the way down to 125 mile per hour winds in the matter of 24 hours, all because of an eye wall replacement cycle. The environment was still very favorable. It was just simply because that eye wall replacement cycle has been struggling for so long. And it's not very typical for hurricanes to take an eye wall replacement cycle this long, almost over a day at this point. Started at about 5:30 yesterday afternoon, and we may be as soon as like an hour and a half from this thing getting a clear eye. And when I say clear eye, I mean a clear eye on all levels: lower level, mid level, and upper level, to where you can see it from satellite imagery. But definitely, the structure is definitely improved in that the outer eye wall, which is right in here. Definitely started to improve. You could see a lot cooler cloud tops. It's getting a lot more intense. So that should allow for a quicker intensification process of that eye, and then eventually of the entire hurricane. I don't know how much rain Puerto Rico got, but I do know Puerto Rico ended up with a bunch of rainfall. A lot of people ended up without power into the overnight hours. And it was a pretty rough system, especially for the northern side of Puerto Rico. The Virgin Islands got a lot of flash flooding and isolated wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. I don't think the Dominican Republic has seen anything too crazy at the moment. Most of the convection is likely staying more off to the north of the Dominican Republic, maybe on the northern side of the Dominican Republic. Turks and Caicos, a little bit worried for the Turks and Caicos because of how large this system is. You guys are probably going to get in on those tropical storm force wind speeds. If you are on the Turks and Caicos, it's just basic preparations. Make sure you're staying away from the beaches if you can. Make sure you're seeking shelter, and make sure you have enough supplies to last you a few days. We're not talking like weeks without power, maybe like 2-3 days without power, maybe even less than that being a possibility. Because this thing, just the outer bands are going to be hitting you guys. So some people may not have power for 2, maybe up to 3 days out there. It's not going to be like catastrophic impacts. The eye's not going to hit you. It's just those outer bands are going to bring a lot of flooding, a lot of tropical storm force wind speeds, and maybe some very isolated hurricane wind gust. The southeastern Bahamas, you guys are going to be generally in the same boat, but it's going to be a lot less impacts. So we could see, instead of sustained tropical storm force wind speeds, it's going to be more of tropical storm force wind gusts. We may have some isolated wind gusts as high as hurricane force in the Bahamas, but the Turks and Caicos Islands have the best chance for those hurricane force wind gusts out of the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos there. I do want to show you guys a little bit closer on the tropical storm warnings that are in effect here. So there's your tropical storm warnings, again in effect for the Turks and Caicos and the southeastern islands of the Bahamas. You can see the wind field pretty large. Like I said, it's already about 250 miles from southwest to northeast, whereas yesterday, when it was a Cat 5, it was about 150 from southwest to northeast. So it's grown about 100 miles from southwest to northeast, slowly expanding with time in the last 24 to 30 some hours here. And it's going to, it's probably going to double in size again. So imagine this wind field times 2 and put the hurricane at this H. And if you imagine that, your wind field is going to be outside of your cone of uncertainty. You're going to have this huge wind field that gets close to NC and close to the Bahamas, or not the Bahamas, Bermuda, my bad. Close to Bermuda and close to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. For the Bahamas, the southeastern islands, like I said, it's going to be pretty close. I mean, you guys are probably going to be skimmed by those tropical storm force, sustained tropical storm force wind speeds. You're probably just going to barely get skimmed by it, whereas the Turks and Caicos, you guys have a pretty good chance of getting sustained wind speeds of tropical storm force and some wind gust up to hurricane force, so like 70, 75 mile per hour wind gust won't be able to be ruled out there for the Turks and Caicos. I really like this new cone that they've implemented this year. They have upgraded their graphics, and they've changed it to an interactive. It is an interactive cone now of uncertainty here. Last year we had this type of cone, but it was a still image like this. So we could see the inland tropical storm watches and warnings, but you couldn't zoom in. Now they changed it to where you can zoom in. And I don't know what other features they have here. It's probably that 3 dots. May have a few more features there. Pretty useful, especially when a hurricane eventually impacts the lower 48 U.S. And we get those inland tropical storm watches and hurricane watches. It's going to be really useful for zooming in and giving a bit more in-depth look at the watches and warnings. Let's see. I'm going to go over to cyclonic WX. We heard that way too often yesterday for 10 hours straight. Actually, I want to go check recon again. Are y'all turning? Perhaps, maybe. We haven't gotten an update on them. I'm thinking they're probably gonna go refuel. I don't think they're gonna go into this storm. Actually, yeah, they're not. They're a non-tasked mission, so I know they're not going to be going into the storm. All right, but I wanted to show you guys the close-up satellite imagery on a higher resolution loop here. Zoom in. All right, that way you can see. That way you can see the explosion that we've been seeing on the southeast eye wall. So earlier today, it wasn't really well defined, but now we've started to see that explosion on the southeast side, and you can see the eye has started to poke out, like right near my cursor. Right near my cursor. That's right where the eye has started to attempt to poke out. And we're not going to get a fully visible eye until we get some good hot towers going. We got to see spiraling hot towers, which is where your hot towers really get intense and rapidly start spinning around it very, very quickly. If we loop it again, you can see these hot towers further to the northwest side of the center up here. They're not really that rapid, right? So they're not right at that low pressure center. These are going to be the hot towers that could help rapidly go across the eye from, in this case, the east side all the way over to the west side, and the west side all the way over to the east side, and really try to help spin that low pressure faster and get those wind speeds up more and intensify the eye to where we eventually can see it from visible satellite imagery. But again, that may not be for another 2 hours or so. That normally is going to take a while, and with this storm, it's taking longer than normal. It's taking a lot longer than normal for this thing to finish an eye wall replacement cycle. All right, I'm going to move all this stuff over here. And then I do want to get into some model data for you guys. We're going to get into the 12Z model data here, which is in, obviously, 12Z was, what, 10 hours ago? Nah. No, even more than that. Nope, about 8 hours ago. 12Z was about 8 hours ago. Right about there. So, I haven't looked at these models yet. I have not looked at these models just yet at all today. I'm going to change it to this for you. We can see this a little bit easier. Try to get this generally generally to fit the screen size. There you go. So let's pull this out and see where the H-Wharf, this is the H-Wharf model run, where it takes this. So this is the time right about now. This is 30 minutes from now. And it already shows the hurricane deepening down to 935. So right off the bat, we know this is much stronger than what the NHC currently has Erin at, which is, it's most likely incorrect. This model run is likely too strong. It does show some deepening possible into the overnight hours, and then we begin that weakening trend as we go into Tuesday afternoon. We begin that weakening trend, and it really never gets above 940 there during this entire time. It's really between 930 and 940. It never really rapidly weakens whatsoever, and you can see that wind field. Watch the wind field expand. Watch that wind field expand in the green. The green is your tropical storm force wind speeds there. And you can see how much larger that gets, especially as it gets parallel of Bermuda, Wilmington, North Carolina, the Outer Banks in North Carolina. That wind speed grows, the wind field rather, grows very, very, very quickly. And then even quicker as it gets just to the south of Nova Scotia. And then, like I said, it would start turning more towards a Category 1 hurricane, more extratropical as this gets up towards Newfoundland and east of New Brunswick. Let's go over to the HAFSA model run. We're doing all the parent guidance, obviously, so that way it zooms out. So same thing here. This is about the time right now, and it's still too strong. 934 millibar there. We're actually closer to what, 946 millibar is what we're at right now. So again, a little bit too strong in this hurricane, but it does kind of correct for that. Tonight it has it weakening to about a 944 millibar, and see if it strengthens it at all. Yep, it does strengthen it, actually parallel to NC and Bermuda. And in this case, you can see those greens right on the far edge of the Outer Banks in North Carolina. Barely tropical storm force wind speeds there. So if this would be the case, we'd probably end up with tropical storm warnings. I don't know if we're going to see those. Yeah, the Northern Leeward Islands the other day were put in tropical storm watches, but they never observed sustained tropical storm force wind speeds, so they never got upgraded. That could be the case for North Carolina. We may be put under tropical storm watches on the Outer Banks, but I don't know for sure if those will ever be upgraded to tropical storm warnings unless we see some pretty big west shifts here. And then seems like these models are handling it pretty poorly on how quickly this system is going to weaken north of Bermuda. I don't think we'll be at a 935 millibar parallel of New Jersey and Delaware. I don't think that would be the case. So let's go for the HAFSB. Please be at least a little bit better. So this is the time about now. We are at the worst. We are at the worst. A 925 millibar, likely Cat 5 with this model run. But it does rapidly weaken it, so it follows the same footsteps as the HAFSB going into tomorrow afternoon. And it strengthens it a little bit. You can see it gets to 960 and then it intensifies it a little bit parallel of NC there. And then it keeps strengthening it. For some reason, I don't know why our hurricane models keep strengthening it north of Bermuda. I do not agree with that. But you can see in this case, Thursday, tropical storm force wind speeds could be very close to Bermuda. Very, very close to Bermuda. So both NC and Bermuda are at risk for tropical storm force wind speeds and or wind gusts. Just depending on how west or east this system is. It's way too close for comfort. It is way too close for comfort. I mean, hopefully it does do this, which is a perfect split between the middle. Tropical storm force wind speeds don't reach NC. Tropical storm force wind speeds don't reach Bermuda. But that is such a close call. 20-mile shift west, and boom, it's over North Carolina. 30-mile shift east, and boom, it's over Bermuda. So it's too close for comfort. It's way too close for comfort there. So that's what we really want to keep an eye on to see which way it shifts. And right now, it's really the same forecast as I spoke of yesterday in terms of the exact track that NHC has. Just before I ended stream, it's really just about the same track here. We haven't had anything ridiculous happen in terms of any big shifts here. I know the Euro ensemble shifted a tiny bit. Actually, the new ones are in. I haven't seen the new ones. I have not seen the new Euro ensembles. Let's see if those... Yeah, maybe just not really a big shift, just a little bit more members west. Let me show you. Let me show you. This is weathernerds.org here. And this is the ensembles from yesterday. And see how there's only 2 members out here? And if we go to the newest ensembles, there's closer to like 4 or 5 ensembles out here. So it's not like anything crazy big or groundbreaking or huge west shifts or anything like that. Just a few more ensembles are a little bit more west as opposed to east. But again, still the majority of these are in that sweet spot. But again, if we're on that west side of it, tropical storm force wind speeds for NC. If we're on the east side of it, tropical storm force wind speeds for Bermuda. But ensembles, they're a very tight spread. A very, very tight spread being in between NC and Bermuda. No landfalling impacts. That's pretty much a guarantee at this point that we do not see landfalling impacts. But the shift here, the difference between 100 miles west and 100 miles east, that's still a big enough spread to where it could be a close call for tropical storm force wind speeds to either NC or Bermuda. So we do want to watch that closely just to see which way this is kind of trending. And we'll figure that out just with time. Another thing I want to mention here, I'm going to zoom out here. We're going to zoom over here. I do think a tropical storm is becoming more and more likely behind Erin. And notice this isn't in the Gulf. This isn't in the Caribbean. This isn't hitting Florida. This isn't hitting Texas. Nothing like what the GFS was saying over the last 3 days. A good ensemble spread in the general vicinity of where Erin is right now. And probably going to see an increase in those probabilities. The NHC is at a 30% chance of tropical storm forming in the next 7 days. Wouldn't be surprised if that gets a little bit higher. But right now, ensembles, pretty good idea that this is going to be around the realms of north of Puerto Rico. Now, that is not a guarantee. That is not a guarantee. It could shift a little bit further to the south. We'll see what the GFS ensembles have here. And you can see some of the GFS ensembles definitely take a more southern trajectory here. But even then, many of these are just tropical depression, if not weaker than that, ensembles. So, and then you can see another wave back here. So the general thinking is a tropical storm will be possible somewhere in this vicinity going towards the end of this week and the beginning of next week, mainly towards the end of this week. Let me see what the Euro says real quick, the European ensembles. What time frame do they have? Yeah, they're thinking next weekend. Saturday, Sunday, next weekend would be the best chance for a tropical storm to form north of Puerto Rico. But again, this is going to shift frequently. This signal could just almost completely disappear. So the NHC may increase it a little bit, or they may just keep it at 30%. I don't think they're going to go anything higher than 40% unless we see some really solid trends on both the Euro and the GFS ensembles. Behind it, if you're talking about this system, yes. Yeah, Erin is going to be bringing up some cooler waters, yeah. Because of how intense Erin was. I don't know if there's a big effect yet on our sea surface temperatures. See if we can see it at all. Western Atlantic. Yeah, I don't really see any big difference right now. Yeah, so this is as of this morning, and honestly, not really seeing much. I'm really not seeing much of a change there. Really not seeing much in our sea surface temperature change. It's still 29 Celsius, so I don't know. That is from this morning. Most of the time when you got a Cat 4 or Cat 5, it's going to be taking those sea surface temperatures down a good notch behind it. Yeah, ocean heat content. Let me go see that. Uh, un unchanged. It's really not affecting it that much. I'm honestly surprised. You really, like, if you just look at this map, you'd never suspect that we had a Category 5 yesterday, just north of Puerto Rico. You never suspect. You would not guess that. Still 29 Celsius for the sea surface temperatures, and you're still about 75 for the ocean heat content. So, obviously that's a different measurement right there. I think that is I don't know exactly what that is, to be honest with you. I'm not gonna guess it because I don't want to look very stupid. I haven't used ocean heat content too often. I just found this site like the other day, and I'm going to be using it a lot during this hurricane season because it's very, very important for Category 3 plus hurricanes. Ocean heat content is really important for rapid intensification. You know what? That is a good point. It wasn't that slow of a system. It was moving about 17 miles per hour. That is a really good point. It was moving pretty fast as a Cat 5. Not like unordinarily quick, but in terms of movement, it was a pretty quick moving Cat 5. Joules per square centimeter. I was going to say joules per centimeter. I've missed the squared part. I would have been close. Nine miles per hour for Milton, yeah. Yeah, it was about almost 2 times quicker than Milton. And now it is slowed down recently because it's starting to take that turn. It's starting to take a turn here. I don't know how slow it will be moving. If it does slow down, I would say the slowest it's going to move would probably be like in here. That might be the slowest this thing moves. Right as it's in between that northwest and that northeast turn. That might be where it moves the slowest, because that's when it's going to be the furthest away from the high pressure. And then, like I said, once it gets to here, it gets picked up by that trough and zoom right off to the northeast. This thing's going to go quick. I mean, let me do this real quick. I'm going to do the math of this. 570 miles. So, yeah, that would be almost 24 miles per hour there. So, it's going to go a lot faster once it gets north of Bermuda. Right now, it's going at 13. Is that right? I thought it was 14. Hold on. I wonder if I inputted that incorrectly before stream. Nope, it is 13 miles per hour. Okay. Okay. We just got a new NHC update right now. Let's see. 125, 946, still 13 miles per hour. There you go. So still everything the same in that sense. The main thing we're going to want to see is the forecast. That's the big thing. Did we up the knots at all for some reason? I really don't think they would. As of 5 p.m., maximum winds 125 knots. So that's still 145 miles per hour. So they're still forecasting a 145 mile per hour Cat 4 tomorrow morning. Not surprising. Not surprising. Only thing that would have shocked me is if they put it up. If they moved it up to 150, that would have shocked me. But I'm not surprised they kept it at 145. That's definitely doable. I will show I will show you guys the cone in a second. We'll do a comparison. It takes about 5 minutes for me to get the cone. But yeah, if you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. We're already 40 minutes into the stream. Try to get us up to 100 likes. There's over 170 people in here. We're at about 65 likes right now. And share the stream with your family, friends, social media. It's really appreciated. Help spread the weather about this system. And just the weather in general. Mainly over the next few days, we're going to be focusing on Erin, but then our attention is going to turn to the main development region. In terms of the U.S., there's not really that much notable severe weather happening, so we're really focused on hurricane season at this moment. And yeah, if you're new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button with a notification bell set to all. It's greatly appreciated. Let's see here. Yeah, sorry, I just saw something on Twitter. Just saw something on Twitter about this next system. Tropical depression probabilities, according to the Euro, are up to about 70%, 65, 70%, going into the weekend, a week from today about. So tropical storm possible, tropical depression is also possible, but like I said, you know, anyone who was talking about the GFS the other day, or you see anyone on YouTube talk about the GFS, and I wonder if it's backed off. I haven't looked at the 12Z today. Let me check that. Nope. Still the stupid same old GFS. For a split second, I thought it completely backed off, but look at this. I want to show you an example of fairy tale land. So the GFS has backed off a lot in the short term. No tropical storm anytime soon. But it puts it right into the Gulf, and then it throws a hurricane somewhere. I'm not going to show you the rest of the run because I don't want you guys to think it's going to happen. But that's over 200 hours out, and that's just a deterministic. When we're forecasting, especially when we are forecasting more than 5 days out, especially more than 5 days out, ensembles are your best friend. Even if it's more close range, ensembles are your best friend. Ensembles are like, so we have European ensembles, so they're based on the European model and how the European model handles things, but it's a little tiny tweaks with each individual ensemble, and there's like 30 of them. So they all show you generally different outcomes, and when those come into very good agreement, that's when you have a strong signal. For instance, let me show you a good agreement strong signal on the European ensembles. This is a good agreement strong signal on a turn for Erin. This is the stuff you want to use. So that way, like, just showing one deterministic run, that's only one of the countless amounts of possibilities. There we go. I'm sorry, Lucky texted me. Surprised he's up. Alright, let's see if that cone is in here. Now, it is still a good idea to look at deterministic model runs, but if you're looking further than like 240 hours out, they're getting a very, very inaccurate. And especially, this is the big problem. This is where it's a big problem. One deterministic model run, one screenshot. That's where it's a problem. Like on Twitter, when you see one screenshot of a category 3-4 hurricane hitting the US and they don't say anything about, hey, this is not even a possibility because it's 384 hours out on a model run that is literally one of the worst model runs for hurricanes. Literally one of the most inaccurate model runs, especially when you go more than 180 hours out. And they're going 384 hours out for the hurricanes. Actually, for instance, if you remember, way, like, I don't even know, 3-4 streams ago for Erin. 3-4 streams ago for Erin. The GFS was like this. It was actually more like this. Like it was east of Bermuda at one point for Erin. And I was saying how I thought the GFS was completely wrong because it was the only model run showing that scenario. So why would you take it seriously? And then sure enough, here comes the GFS over the last 5 days. West, 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 west. Slowly shifts back to every other model run. It's like it's always late to the trends. Now, Erin's going northwest. It's moving this way. Anyone who's telling you it's going dead west, they're wrong. It's not moving dead west. You can't look at like this is like a 14 frame loop. You ain't gonna be able to see the full motion of it. Watch this. I'll show you a good loop and then you'll be like, oh yeah, it is moving northwest. Let me show you a good loop here. There you go. This is a loop from very early this morning to right now. Watch it. Watch your lines. So, line here, line here. If it's moving due west, it's going to be going right to where this 90-degree angle is. And watch where it goes. It's up here. So you can plot that too. Always love to plot it. Take a pen, plot the general center at 10Z, or actually at 11Z, and then plot it at 20Z. Very clear northwest trajectory. Like I said, if you look at like a 5 frame or a 20 frame loop, it's a bit difficult to tell. But it's been moving due northwest. I mean, not really, because, like, in the last hour, this was an hour ago, center here, and then this is now, and the center is, like, right here. Maybe a little bit south of that dot. It's moving west-northwest. It's not moving due west, and it's not moving due north. And it's really, I mean, it's almost, yeah, complete northwest would be this way, so it's not moving extreme northwest either. It's west-northwest. West-northwest is its trajectory. We just got an NHC update, and they're still saying west-northwest. All right, let's see the change in the cone, if there is any. Let's see if the NHC changed the cone at all. I can tell you they extended the cone very far. Look. This is the new NHC advisory. And you can see they extended that cone much closer, you know, much further out to sea. It moves from here to up here. But I'm trying to look. Actually, you know what? I got an idea. The 3-day with line, since we're that close now. Oh, definitely a west shift. Definitely a west shift right there. At the end of the cone. It's definitely a bit of a west shift. Because you can tell the last advisory, it was like right here. Where my cursor is, I can plot it. So right here. And then the next advisory, you could see it's a little bit more northwest. Not like an insane shift, but a decent shift up to the northwest. And that's going to probably go a little bit more northwest on the next maybe 2 advisories. Because obviously this thing's going to turn like this. So you're going to see it go a little bit more northwest on that cone before it starts going complete northeast. But I don't think that cone is going to get quite to... It shouldn't get to North Carolina. I would be very shocked if North Carolina gets inside the cone. That would very much shock me. Yeah, because look how far that is. I would be very shocked if NC gets put into that cone. So not any like crazy change from the new NHC update. Maybe just a tiny little shift. All right, let's go to the track. I want to check this. 100 miles per hour. That is still, if I'm not mistaken, very low end category 2. Pretty sure that's very low in category 2. And then still 145 miles per hour. And this is actually at 2 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. So they have it being a little bit longer of an intensification process. Yeah. 2 a.m. tonight, only a 5 mile per hour increase. So the main intensification is between 2 a.m. tomorrow morning and 2 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. That's the main intensification. And then this, yep, down 5 miles per hour. This should be down 10 miles per hour. Yep, that's the same. And then maybe 120 here, 125. Then 120 there. And then this should be Cat 2, yep. Barely Cat 2, 110. Yeah, let me go back to the new advisory there. 120. 120. Okay, so that's still, generally that's the same. The main change is a slight northwest shift with the cone over here. A big northeast shift as time progresses. It's going to keep going more northeast as obviously time goes. The storm's going to keep moving. The 5-day forecast is going to keep being pushed out. So little northeast up here, little northwest right in here, and then this M was downgraded. This used to be the 2 a.m. advisory tomorrow morning. Used to be a Cat 4. I think 140 Cat 4 at 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. And now they changed that to low end Cat 4, 130. Actually, that might still... Is this the old advisory? I think they didn't change anything with the intensification there. Yeah. I swear that was 140 before, but alright. So they still have the main intensification process being tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. So no big change. No big change. Like I said, maybe a little west shift here and then the northeast push up here. And that's it. No major changes. No change with the intensity, I believe. I'll recheck that just in case I misread it somehow. 125 at 946, 13 at west-northwest. Yep. Just want to double check, just in case. There we go. Let's see if Recon is doing anything here. Yeah, they're going south of the storm. They are going south of the storm. So we'll see if this eye pops out. Definitely can see a bit drier air in the middle. I don't know if that's exactly the eye trying to pop out or if that's just some lack of convection right there. But that's very... That should be... Yeah, that should be the eye trying to pop out. Should be the eye trying to pop out at least a little bit more. Definitely not fully clearing itself, but should be at least trying to pop out a little bit. I think that's really all the main information here that I need to share with y'all. I wonder if they changed the probabilities at all. Yeah, here's the probabilities. I don't think there's any big change. Okay, this is still the 2 a.m. advisory. So this might change a slight bit at the 5 p.m. advisory, but this was as of 3 hours ago. They should update this. Yeah. They should update this any minute. But in this advisory from 3 hours ago, Bermuda was in the 10 to 20% chance of tropical storm force wind speeds. And look at that. You see that just the smallest edge of North Carolina, also in the 10 to 20% probabilities. So right now, it's equally as likely for it to shift a tiny bit west as it is for it to shift a tiny bit east. 20% chance Bermuda, 20% chance NC. And that's for tropical storm force winds. That's about sustained 40-mile-an-hour winds. 20% chance for Bermuda and NC. And I don't think, unless we see that shift closer to 30 or 40%, we may not see watches on either areas. The Outer Banks of NC and Bermuda hopefully will be able to escape without any tropical storm force wind speeds. And then hurricane probabilities, just to show you that, like I said, hurricane probabilities, it's going to be a very small area. So Bermuda, not going to see hurricane force sustained winds. Same for North Carolina. Hurricane wind speeds are going to stay away from everybody. At least sustained hurricane force wind speeds. This is probability of mid-tier tropical storm force wind speeds of 58 miles per hour sustained. So you can see that's away from Bermuda and North Carolina. So if we do see tropical storm force winds in North Carolina or Bermuda, it's going to be lower in tropical storm force wind speeds. So like 40-mile-an-hour winds sustained. Let's see. This is the key messages from 5 o'clock. NHC just posted this. Bands of heavy rain will continue across portions of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands through tonight, but are expected to diminish tomorrow morning. Locally, considerable flash flooding and urban flooding, along with landslides or mudslides, will be possible. Tropical storm conditions are expected in the Turks and Caicos Islands tonight into all day, or rather into Monday, as well as in southeastern Bahamas. Erin is expected to produce life-threatening surf and rip current conditions along the beaches of the Bahamas and much of the eastern U.S., Bermuda, and the portions of the Atlantic Canada during the next several days. This is the main part here. Interest along the Outer Banks of North Carolina and Bermuda should monitor the progression of Erin, as there is the risk of strong winds with the outer bands towards the middle part of this week. So still want to watch the Outer Banks and Bermuda, and that's what we've been talking about a lot in this stream. Are they going to update that graphic? They should, right? Let me see. Can I have archive? Graphics archive, wind speed probabilities, newest. Okay, they only update that every 6 hours, actually. So we don't get that till 8 p.m. But look how it's gotten closer and closer to NC. Look. NC barely outside the 5%, barely outside the 5%, barely outside the 5%, outside the 5%, in the 5%, in the 5%, in the 5% again. And then the update from very early this morning, barely in the 10 to 20%, and now still in the 10 to 20% at the 2 o'clock update from 3 hours ago. So the next update on this will be in about 3 hours. And I don't think we'll be live for that. We probably won't end up staying too long today. Since there's probably not going to be a lot of new information. The biggest thing that could happen tonight is a new eye form, but we're already seeing that form. And recon is well away from this storm. Like I'm talking about, we probably ain't going to get recon in this storm for another 2 hours. Tomorrow, Monday, yeah, I'll be on. Wait, yeah. Yeah, I'll I have something to do in the afternoon, so I'll probably end up being a little late. It's Monday, so people are going to school. I can either stream at like 1 o'clock, or I could stream at like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. One or the other. It just depends. I'm not too sure if it would be a good idea to stream earlier or later. I'll check on it, and if this thing is like a mid-tier Cat 4, if it's actually verifying with mid-tier Cat 4 tomorrow at 1, I'll go live at 1. But I know I have something to do, I think at 3. 3 to 4, I believe I'm busy. What, tomorrow? There, yeah, I mean, really, going into like this day here, I think that's Wednesday. That's probably going to be the most crucial day. Or was that Thursday, the 20th? Let's see, 20th is Wednesday. That's what I was thinking. Ben, I'm either gonna be... I mean, like, I'll be live after this update, too. I'm doing daily streams. I'll either be chasing it or I'll be live. Like, I'll be live Wednesday, too. I'm gonna be live tomorrow, so tomorrow's Monday. I'll be live tomorrow either at 1 p.m., or close to 7 p.m., or I'll be live... and then the next day, which is Tuesday, I'll probably be live. It just depends. It just depends. I like to plan it before advisory. So today we went live at 4 o'clock to stream the 5 o'clock advisory. Tomorrow I'll go live at either 1 o'clock for the 2 o'clock advisory or 7 o'clock for the 8 o'clock advisory. It just depends. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be worth going to the coastline. Because, like, it's going to be Cat 3, Cat 2, and it's going to be the outer bands of it. I just don't know if it's going to be worth a 4 or 5 hour drive there. I'm feeling like it's not going to be worth it. We should get our chance. We should get our chance. Like I told Lucky, I mean, really, if there is a major hurricane that makes landfall anywhere in here, we're going to try to chase it. And if there's a tropical, high-end tropical storm or Category 1 hurricane anywhere in here, we're going to try to chase it. So if there's a major hurricane, we'll go all the way down to like almost Savannah, Georgia for a major hurricane. But for a tropical storm or hurricane, we don't want to go further than like Georgetown. And I can tell you this, I'm not going to be going over here. I'm not going to be going over here. Not going to be going over here. Georgia is as far as I'm going. Now, we'll do that later. You know, maybe next year. Honestly, maybe next year. Once we're able to get rent-a-cars. Because I don't want to be taking my car all the way down there. I don't have enough faith in it. Thing's got like 160,000 miles on it now, and it's running well, but I just ain't got faith in it. Not to go 8+ hours. Willis, don't promote in my chat, thanks. Let's see. Trying to see if the euro has shifted at all. We just got the 12s a euro in here. If anything, the euro has shifted a little bit more east. And we're going to see this for a while. We're going to see this for a while. You can see here's a good idea of what to expect here. This is the last few runs of the euro. See how it's just trending around that general area? Somewhere around there. Somewhere around there. But those little shifts, 50 miles west, outer bands hit the outer banks. 50 miles east, and it may barely clip Bermuda. But there you go. So right now it's moving off to the northwest like this. It's going to be moving north as we go into Tuesday. And then Wednesday it's going to start moving northeast. Wednesday into Thursday. Yeah, it's moving northwest right now. It is moving northwest at the moment. Is this the newest? No, this is 40-minute old satellite imagery. Come on. Not what you guys are looking at. You guys are looking at the newest imagery, but on my other screen, it's 40-minute old. That's crazy. So, yeah, looks like that eye is clearing out. Let's go back to infrared. This is the closest we've been to an eye since last night. I checked at like 11 p.m. and it looked like this, and then at like 1 a.m. it was, or like 12:30, which is when I was almost fully out at that point. It didn't look as good. So I think this is like the best the eye has looked in quite a while. I'm trying to get some past infrared satellite imagery so I could tell you. But it doesn't want to load for me. Come on. Pull up tropical tidbits, I guess. I want to give you an idea of when the eye last looked this good. I could tell you it's been a long time. It's been a while. Can't do the meso floaters. That's too... Oh, there we go. Okay, I got one. Now I'll be able to tell you. Right there is when our main eye... That was... Yeah, about 5 a.m. this morning. 5 a.m. this morning was the last time we had this clearing happening in the low pressure. About 5 a.m. this morning. Look like it's leaving the cone. That's impossible. There's no way it's leaving the cone. Not when we just got a new update. No. It's right on track with the cone of uncertainty. No, I don't have Nightbot for the zip codes. I have Nightbot to mod chat and commands for mods to use, but I don't have it for zip codes. Matthew, welcome to the stream. Glad to see you in here. Glad to see you back in here. When is recon expected to take off here? Yeah, so that's our upper air recon. And then I guess those guys have just gone home. I don't know where those guys have gone. They've gone somewhere. Let me see if I can tell you. Nope. But our next recon takes off in 35 minutes. 35 minutes is our next recon takeoff. Now, if they take off from Orlando like they did earlier, these guys here... Nope. Where are you? I don't know if that was them. It might have been... Yeah, that one took off from Barbados. But one of these guys took off from Orlando and went all the way into this storm. That's like a 2-hour flight right there. So if these guys are taking off in 30 minutes from Orlando, it's going to be another 2 hours. But if they're taking off from, fingers crossed, the Virgin Islands, maybe the Bahamas, then it's going to be closer to an hour flight. Oh, there's a big burst of convection right there. Good burst on the southeast side. Yeah, we're getting very close to getting an eye here. I still think we're an hour away. It looks like we're like extremely close, like minutes away, but it takes some time. It takes longer than you may think. You may think we're 10 to 30 minutes away from this thing poking out its eye here, but it's going to be a while. We got to this stage like literally 4 times yesterday. After it closed its eye at 5:30 Eastern, we were like this close 3, 4 different times after that. So maybe this is the one that does it. Maybe this is when we get the eye. We are going to get another eye. We'll either get an eye tonight or into tomorrow morning. Tonight into tomorrow morning is when we should get an eye. Let's see. So Recon's definitely going to be in this before the 8 o'clock update, so that's good. It could be a Cat 4 as early as 11 p.m. update. I don't think it's going to be able to get to Cat 4 in 2.5 hours or so. Erin did turn. Look. Erin literally turned last night. This is a turn to the northwest. This is observed positions here. You could see a little bit more west in the morning, but then it started turning more northwest as we went through the afternoon. And then now it's taken an even more northwest trajectory. It's not stalling, dude. 45 minutes ago, low pressure here. Right now, low pressure here. If it was stalling, how did it move from here to here in 45 minutes? It's still moving. It's going just as forecasted. I've seen a lot of people on social media say it's more west than forecasted, it's more east than forecasted, it's more south than forecasted, it's moving slower than forecasted. But overall, it's really been, the track of it has been forecasted very, very well. Now, the intensity, not so much. The intensity was not that well forecasted. Forecasted to be a high in Cat 2 back here, and it was actually Cat 5. I think if you mean intensity, yeah, the intensity has been stalled. Look, 125, 125, 125, 125. It's been 125 for the last couple hours. Like, literally since this morning, like, around the 2 a.m. or so time frame. Oh, let's see. 5 p.m., 2 p.m., 11 a.m., 5 a.m. Yeah, about 5 a.m. Now, if you're talking about the system stalling in terms of its movement, you and me have very, very different definitions of stalling. Moving west-northwest at 13 miles per hour is not stalling in my book. Let's see here. What if it moves more west than the track says? Then it could just wobble more east. We're going to have a big west shift to where like the entire hurricane goes well outside the west side of the cone. And even then, it probably is going to go very close to back to the original forecast. That's what we had yesterday. Yesterday it was going really, really, really far west, and it did shift the cone a good 50 to 100 miles, though. But it went west for 3 hours. 3 more hours west than originally forecasted. And that is what changes your track. Not an hour, not 30 minutes west this way, and then it ends up going 30 more minutes right back on track. Because we also had that yesterday, too. Where it was wobbling a little bit north of the cone, and then it ended up eventually wobbling right back in towards the cone. And right on the exact trajectory. Yep, I'm ready for NASCAR 25. That's going to be in October. Okay, Brett, if it's a fish storm, then why is our tropical storm warnings active? If it's a fish storm, then why did we have flash flooding and 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts in Puerto Rico? If it's a fish storm, then why did we have tropical storm watches for the British Virgin Islands? If it's a fish storm, then why did we have impacts back towards Cape Verde? Doesn't sound like a fish storm to me, but to me, a fish storm is a storm that impacts nobody but the fish. Okay, so you just consider the eye part of the storm, and that's it. Got it. So the wind speeds around the eye doesn't count for impacts. I gotcha. I see what you mean. Because I kind of feel like you should count the whole storm, not just 50 miles of it. I guess that's just me, though. Oh, that's not just me. Never mind. But yeah, if you guys have any more questions about like where this may go, you can see the cone here. But yeah, if you just have any more questions, put them in the comments. I'm probably getting ready to end. Honestly, I don't want to stay live too long today because I don't want to use all my energy up like I did yesterday. And there's no recon. If something crazy happens tonight, I wouldn't rule out another live stream, but most likely I'm just going to send y'all the Lucky here in a couple minutes. So don't leave. Don't fully leave. I mean, if you want to, you can, but I'm going to send you guys over to Lucky's live stream. He's starting in 12 minutes. So I'll send you guys over to him, and he'll hopefully talk about the storm some. Yeah, it's expected to clear out tonight into tomorrow morning. It's clearing out right now, but I don't think it's going to be fully visible on visible satellite imagery in all levels until either very late tonight or tomorrow morning. I'm going to go ahead and I wonder if Lucky's scheduled his live stream. If he has, I'll select it now. That way I don't forget. Okay, he has. So you can go over there right now if you know his channel. It's Lucky's Weather. If you don't, you can just stay here until the music is completely done and it will automatically redirect you. So thank you guys for 100 likes. I appreciate that. Thank you for helping me reach almost 3,000 people as well. Again, if you have any more comments, you can go ahead and put them in the chat. I'll try to answer them. And oh yeah, the system behind this, we did go over that a bit, but I'll go ahead and show you guys just to prove, just in case you haven't seen it yourself. There is a AOI back here, and it did get up to 30% this morning. Like I said, that may go as high as 40% over the next few days, but we're gonna have to have some big time change in model guidance to really support this system if we're going to go over that 40% mark, because right now it's mainly just the deterministic GFS and the European ensembles. I haven't seen much support from anything else. I'll check the Canadian. The Canadian shows a tropical storm out to sea, but that's 200 hours out, so that easily is likely going to change. The icon shows potentially a tropical depression Thursday. So there's definitely some support in a tropical depression, but a tropical storm is where you get a bit iffy. And then anything stronger than a tropical storm, it's like, yeah, we can't talk about that just yet. Not until Erin gets out of here and we really know the steering patterns. Also, where this thing goes, we don't know for certain. It could go like this. It could go in towards the Caribbean. It could go in between where it goes towards and pretty much in the Caribbean and then starts to turn up north. We don't know. We don't know exactly. It depends on the steering current left from Erin. Erin's going to get out of here, and then we'll have some change in the steering pattern. And that could either end up putting this system as another Erin ordeal where it just goes out to sea, or we could get a blocking high pressure up here that ends up steering this closer to the Caribbean. But the uncertainty is huge. It's huge. It could go anywhere from completely out to sea to not even forming. Not even becoming a tropical depression. Yes, that's the one that the GFS has going into the Gulf, and the GFS has been consistent on that, but it's the only model one that shows it. It's the only model one that shows it. The ensembles, the Euro ensembles, shows like up here being the best chance of a tropical storm towards Saturday, Sunday. And I didn't check where the rest of those ensembles go. I didn't check out past that time frame. I guess I'll look just because almost all of the Euro ensembles take it out to sea. But that very easily could change it. We are a week and a half out from that. That's next Wednesday. Not this upcoming Wednesday, next Wednesday, the 27th, 10 days away. A lot can change, and a lot will change between now and 10 days from today. So just be very careful. Be very careful. Especially if people are showing the GFS model. Like I said, if they're just showing the GFS model, that's where it's really bad. So, like, when people take screenshots of the GFS 250 some hours out and share it on social media with no extra input saying, hey, this is likely not going to happen. It's 270 hours out, and literally the storm could just fall apart before then. The European model run, the deterministic European model run, barely develops a tropical storm Sunday north of Puerto Rico, so it goes out to sea. But yeah, we need a little bit more convection on the west side here. You know, we've got some good hot towers on the east side and even the southwest side here. So we need a little more convection on the north side, and then that will really help poke out this eye. It's looking pretty good. It could have a really good eye in about 2 hours. It could be an eye on all levels. It's looking pretty good. Now, if it doesn't keep this up, then it's going to be even longer, but we'll have to see if it's near done at like 7 o'clock Eastern. Thank you, pre-demolition, but I am wrong sometimes. I'm wrong sometimes. This system hasn't been too difficult to forecast. The main difficulty of it has been where it's going to go after it turns, going up towards in between NC and Bermuda. That's been the main difficulty of it. Really, from the get-go, this looked like it was going to go barely north of Puerto Rico. And it did. I did notice over the last few frames, real quick before we start ending here. Again, if you don't already know, I'm sending you guys to Lucky, so stay here until the music ends in about 4.5 minutes, and you'll be automatically redirected to Lucky's live stream. If not, you can go to his channel right now, Lucky's Weather. And if you don't want to do any of that, hey, that's fine. I appreciate you just for tuning in. It means a lot. And definitely will be live tomorrow. Sometime, either I'll be live about 1 p.m. or I'll be live about 7 p.m., one or the other. But something I wanted to point out is it did shift a little north. You can see a little north wobble in the low pressure right there. So we'll have to see if that corrects itself. Most likely it's going to correct itself. It typically does. So that's going to be it for this live stream. Thank you, mods, for my chat. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for helping me reach 3,000 people today, hitting that like button to over 100 likes. If you haven't already, make sure you share this stream with family, friends, social media. Consider hitting that subscribe button with a notification bell set to all, so you know when I go live tomorrow, whether it be 1 p.m. Eastern or 7 p.m. Eastern. We will see. It just depends on things, but I will be live tomorrow, and then I will be live Tuesday, and then I will be live Wednesday. Depending on if we go to the Outer Banks, probably not, but maybe. I'll likely still be live Wednesday, maybe even Thursday too. So I'll catch you guys in tomorrow's live stream, either at 1 p.m. or 7 p.m. And again, you guys will be redirected to Lucky in about 3 minutes. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Stay safe, rest of your weather in the tropics. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye. Stay safe, watch for your weather in the tropics, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's live stream. Again, thank you much for my chat and everyone for being here. Have a great rest of your day.